This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready?
Welcome, Gen Y Leaders, to our latest episode. I'm Jonathan Hale. I am the social media manager for the Gen Y Leaders podcast. And today I've been kind of fortunate to get to host again. Today we're featuring Jeff Evans, who is the CEO and founder of Mean Mule Distilling Company. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So to get started, we kind of, just ask you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, my name is Jeff Evans. I'm the founder and CEO of the Mean Mule Distilling Company. We are the largest producer of agave spirits in the United States. Our location is in the Crossroads district of Kansas City. Now, distilling has been something that has run in my blood for a long time. My great-grandmother, four greats there, imported from Germany in the early 1800s. And she built a still and started a company and passed that down from generation to generation. In the 1920s, we had a little bit of a social and economic change as far as alcohol is concerned in this country. And that typically goes by the name Prohibition. It didn't stop my family from making their hooch. It just made them a little bit more careful. And one day, one of my great-grandfather's customers decided he'd gotten a bad deal. So he reported Fitz to the feds. So here come these two revenuers up the long driveway of the house, going to take great-grandpa Fitz to jail. Well, Fitz was a very tall and lanky man, and so he was very fast. So he took off running, and they couldn't catch him. So they just decided they were going to shut down the operation. So they find this building on the back of the property, and they pretty much knew what was going on there. It wasn't their first rodeo. What they didn't know is that Fitz was also a careful man, and so he had built a false floor under this building, and that's where he had his operation. He on top of the floor, he had gone out and he bought the meanest mule that money could buy. And so these two revenuers kicked open this door and come face to face with, 1,000 pounds of mean Missouri Fury. And within 3 minutes, one man was dragging the other one down the road and they never came back. So we're called the Mean Mule Distilling Company because on that day, only one thing could save 5 generations of distilling tradition.
Very cool. That's an awesome story.
Thank you.
It's something, that people love hearing over and over. That's great.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And
at the time, they were making a lot of corn whiskeys and fruit brandies, that kind of thing. So jumping into a new horizon, such as agave spirits, at the time, no one in the United States was doing it. And we decided to kind of revitalize the old company, the old brand, about 2015-ish. Okay. So we wanted to kind of go into a whole new horizon.
So is that kind of, quote unquote, the why of the company to kind of continue that family tradition?
Yeah, well, so there's a couple whys to this whole thing. We can talk about authenticity in spirits for hours if you like. The sad part about the spirits game nowadays is the majority, something like 90% of all spirits are made by one company. They have 2 locations. One is in Atchison, Kansas. They make the majority of the world's clear spirits. And then one is in Kentucky. They make the majority of the world's brown spirits. And nearly every other company that sells spirits pretty much buys from them and repackages. So when we started this company, we were pretty fed up with what I consider to be a lie. And so we decided to do something with authenticity. So agave spirits, because this company doesn't know how to make agave spirits, or they haven't yet, Agave spirits are kind of the last bastion of authenticity in the game. So that's why we do it.
That's cool. Yeah, and that was kind of where I was headed. In Kansas City, at least, there's so many whiskey distilleries, or I guess not gin maybe.
Sure.
So it's really cool and unique that you guys are doing more of the
agave spirits.
agave spirits. That's awesome.
Yeah, not to talk too hard on people. Obviously everyone has their own business model, but out of all the distilleries in Kansas City, I think there's only 2 that actually make their own product, and so we're one of them. The other one is in Lenexa.
Okay, very cool. That's some interesting inside information.
Yeah. Everyone else buys from MGP, every single one of them, and they rebrand.
Wow. So in terms of the physical location in the Crossroads, why was that sort of the destination for you guys?
So when we moved into the Wild East there, in the East Crossroads, man, it was just rough and tumble. We had our friendly neighborhood homeless people that both lived on the front stoop and on the back stoop and watched over our building, and us and the majority of the rest of the alcohol producers there got in all at once at the same time. So it was us and basically 10 breweries, 2 other distilleries, and a winery all went in a 9-block radius at the same time. And so there was a ton of camaraderie in that, because we were all starting our brands and doing our thing, and it was just a really good time. And so that's kind of why we went into the East Crossroads, just because it was kind of a band of alcohol brothers all at once.
Very cool. And you guys, you have your sort of spot where people can come hang out. Do you guys distill there as well, or?
We do, yeah. Okay. So I've got, man, in a past life, I did a lot of machine design and automation, engineering, etc., for various car companies. And my degree is in mechanical engineering. And so I had the awesome opportunity to do my own thing. Basically means that I was not fit to do anything else at that point. And so I got to design and build all the equipment. And so I'm always in the process of automating it somehow. And so yeah, our setup is very compact. It runs 24/7. Does exactly what it needs to do.
What's sort of the experience you want them to have, or what do you want them to take away from hanging out with you guys? Right.
So we just wanted to build for the tasting room, for the bar, we wanted to build a space that was just comfortable, right? So we wanted it to be both on brand and grandma's house at the same time. So it's like Southwest meets grandma's house. So that's why we have the giant Persian rug and the blue Chesterfield couch. That's why we have the velvet green chairs, so it's got this real vibe to it, but also it has this very almost minimalistic desert style along with it. And so we feature a local artist in Kansas City called Color Block KC. She did a beautiful mural for us that hangs up on the wall. And so we have a shrine as well behind the bar that we burn our incense in. And we have, various tomes that people have brought us and tokens over the years. And so when people come in, what they're typically hit by is just how shabby chic it is, how we like to entice all 5 senses at the same time. So smell is a big one for us. So we have various incenses that we burn. We have Palo Santo we also burn in the space. The cocktails themselves are just this beautiful example of what is possible with agave spirits. So we have basically our gateway cocktails first, which is the margarita and the paloma. And then from there, we go on to just the craziest stuff. And we always want to be pushing the boundary for what is possible for agave spirits. Because most of the time you go into a place and you're like, oh, agave spirits, that's tequila, margarita, boom, I'm done, right? But it's such a versatile spirit, especially in the way that we make it, that it can do anything. You can do classic cocktails with it. You can do tiki cocktails with it. We did an entire vegetable-based menu in the spring that was really well done, and it was like beet, carrot, asparagus. I mean, just like the craziest concoctions we could think of, and the cocktails were absolutely fantastic. So we're always kind of pushing the boundary in some way, shape, or form. So for our fall menu, which is going on right now, and then our winter menu, which will probably be more in tune with what people are going to be hearing and tasting. We've got some awesome recipes. We're using like apple cider from Lewisburg Cider Mill. We're using like an ancho chili infusion for one of them called the El Bandito. We love to name our cocktails after like country songs. So all the cocktails for the fall and the winter season will be named after lines from country songs, whether it be Dolly Parton or John Denver or whoever. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a good time with it. We never really take ourselves all that seriously either. I think that's the real beauty of the whole thing is there's so much ego wrapped up in the alcohol industry in general, right? It's all about who knows what and who's tried what and who's the best. For us, man, we don't want to be a part of that. Like our ethos is all about like bringing people in and like giving them a good time, showing them a good time, rather than just like having this entire attitude about how much better we are than everyone else. And that can exist quite a bit.
Sure. That makes sense. Talk about, obviously COVID is ever too prevalent.
Yeah.
I think you guys did some interesting things in adapting to those changes. Talk about just sort of what those were and the thought process there.
Oh man. So, firstly, like we were very lucky in that, me and my team, we've always pivoted very quickly. We always pivot very hard. And that's been, we're never, how do I want to say this? We're always restless, right? We're always restless. The team is never comfortable. And so we're always looking to the next thing. Our business model is one that just requires a lot of adaptation all of the time. So when COVID came around, we didn't have like a set standard thing that we were like a hill that we were prepared to die on. That was our business model or like the thing that we did. And we are always trying to, change the game in one way, shape, or form. So a lot of that is like online sales of alcohol, right? The cost of entry was far too high. It's been something we've been trying to do for the last 2.5 years. We had the website built. We had everything ready to go, right? And we had launched our online store earlier in January. And I think in 3 months we had sold one thing, right? So I wouldn't say that it was very popular, seeing as we had one sale. But it's just that the cost of entry was too high because, why would you buy something online when you could just, pop on down to the store on the corner and pick it up, right? So, but then when the cocoa hit and everyone had to shut down their business model, we were already set up to do this thing. And so we understood all the state and local and federal laws on it. We have really good counsel that has set us up and said, hey, this is what you can and can't do. This is what's legal. This is what's not legal. And so within those parameters, we understood that there were some rules we had to follow. Because we are a distillery, we create packaged alcohol. Our bar gives us the ability to, because in the city of Kansas City, every liquor by the drink license also comes with like a retail package license. So you can sell bottles out of the front of house. So that's one of the standard business models of like the brew pub. You can go in, you can buy the beer, and then you can take the beer home, right? So because we had that, we were able to, within the bounds of the law, begin our cocktail kit distribution program, and it did okay. It did okay. Yeah.
You think it's something you would? I mean, you're continuing going forward, or
yeah,
something to grow in the future?
Yeah. So ultimately, the point of the brand, right? The end goal of the brand is to sell bottles out the door, right? And in the past, we've done that just through distribution network. And so, we sell bottles to a distributor who then in turn waits for us to sell bottles to other people. So like we sell the bottles to the distributor, they hold on to it. It's an awful business model. Then you go to a restaurant and you say, hey, buy our stuff. And they say, where? And you're like, from this other guy. I'm like, okay. And so then they take the cut of the sales that you're making for them, right? It's an awful model. It's an awful model. It's so arcane, and I really hope it changes. So we went from that model where we're making a small margin on things to going to a model where we're making the same margin on things, but because it's the same margin, we can offer a lot more, right? So you buy a Paloma kit and it costs $40, but that's because we, in our minds, are able to provide more items at higher quality for a very minimal cost to people. And sometimes we do eat a little bit of that cost as well for our products, just because ultimately we have this like minimum number bottles have to go out the door at, and we kind of that's like our number. That's our thing that bottles go out. So it's been an awesome program thus far. It's the brainchild of Meg, who's another one of our founders, and been fantastic.
Very cool. So kind of shifting focus a little bit to more of the business side. I guess as an entrepreneur, what are some things you've learned, and what do you think are characteristics of good entrepreneurs?
Oh man. So anyone who's been doing business long enough kind of has their list of things they've learned the hard way, right? And so we have our list. The two big ones, I'll share a couple. The first two big ones that I always come back to are if it feels too good to be true, it's too good to be true. It is always too good to be true, right? And that means like someone walks through your door and they're like, hey, I'm going to make you a ton of money. It's too good to be true, right? No one walks through your door for your own benefit, right? Everything costs a pound of flesh. Like that's the other one. That's the other side of if it's too good to be true, it is. Everything costs a pound of flesh. So if you have any success in your business that didn't cost you something, time, energy, headache, a boatload of emails, tracking down the right person, and finally like pushing it through, then like it's not done or it's not happening. You know, everything costs something. Yeah. The second big lesson that we've learned over the course of the years is don't make it hard for people to give you their money. Okay. And that's like, you'd think, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? But you get on a website, you enter in your credit card info, you click the button and it's like, oh, it doesn't work. Okay. So you refresh the page, you do it again, it doesn't work. And you're like, oh God, just let me give you my money. Like, please, I'm trying to buy this thing from you. Why isn't this working? So it is amazing how difficult it is for some companies for you to give them your money. And that's some of the beauty of like, you look at Amazon, they streamlined the entire process, right? I mean, they will send you things, you buy things by accident you didn't even know you bought because they made it so streamlined, right? You click a button like in a halfway sleepy stupor at 11 o'clock at night while you're holding your phone above your head and you're just about to like let it drop on your face, you do that like 3 or 4 times before you go to bed. Yeah, and you like click that one button and you're like, when did I buy this? Oh, it was then, right? So yeah, big lesson is don't make it hard for people to give you their money. Very cool. And another really interesting thing that we've learned is, business is hard, but it's harder if you don't have sales.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, business is always hard. It doesn't matter. Like any success you have, for some reason, your employees are going to like try to take that from you somehow. Or, I mean, there's always like something going on, right? But everything is amplified if money is tight. So do your absolute best to make sure that sales are coming in and things are going out.
Sure. So the sort of characteristics of an entrepreneur, people who can learn those lessons and adapt.
Yeah. So as far as characteristics for an entrepreneur, one, it all comes down to tenacity, man. Like you just have to be able to take a ton of abuse. And you have to it helps if you have low amounts of negative emotion. It helps if you can take a lot of stress a lot of the time, because a lot of people get into a business thinking, well, once we start making money, my anxiety will go away. That's not true. It's just a different level of anxiety. It's going to be a different thing, right? Because, once you don't have the money factor you have to worry about, well, then you have the performance factor you have to think about. Then you have like twice as many employees or 3 times as many employees. And then you're going to have the 2 or 3 people that just barely do enough to scrape by. And then you're like, well, is this really what we want? Do we leave them where they're at? Do we move them? What do we do? And so there's always 100 things that you're going to have to deal with. So high level of tenacity, never quitting. And then high degree of, I think, pain tolerance would probably help as well, man, because it's not easy. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. Most people think they're just going to get into it and it's going to be perfect. No, it's going to hurt for years, and then it's going to hurt less. That's pretty much the game.
We like to ask our guests what resources they kind of fall back on, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast. What are some things that have kind of helped you along the way that you would recommend?
Oh, man. So it can help to get in with a group of like-minded people, right? So, find other entrepreneurs that, one, don't want to compete with you. They're in something totally different. So they will always be honest with you. 2, that don't want anything from you, right? Finding people like that's hard because, you start a business and they're like, oh, you should give me some free stuff. Like that's always the next question once people figure out, what do you do? Oh, I own my own company. Oh, give me things for free. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, right? So being able to find people and get honest advice from people that are kind of in the same place that you're in, that are motivated like you, that are traveling the same direction as you, that's very important. Very important. Even if, you could just like share your misery with them a little bit, because there is an aspect of that as well. Entrepreneurship is hard, and managing people is hard, and owning things is hard. And so it's a tough time, but finding people that you can rely on in that way is very important.
Where can people find you or Mean Mule online?
Oh man, so you can go to our website. So if you go to meanmuledistilling.co, you can find it, or you go to meanmule.com or meanmule.uk.com, or if you just type in Mean Mule, it'll pop up. I think at this point we pretty much own every URL that has to do with mean things and mules. meanmuledistillingco.com, meanmuledistillingco.co, all of them. If you want to see kind of our marketing side and what we're doing and all the fun stuff, go to our Instagram page. It's Mean Mule Distilling Co. Pretty simple on that one. Yeah. That's where you will find the brand online. If you're coming to find me directly, I'm typically hiding in the back somewhere. Whether it's, the life of an entrepreneur, whether it's like rotor-rootering a drain line that somehow is clogged because someone flushed a handful of paper towels down the toilet, or like I'll be doing something like that in the back more than likely, keeping the roof from falling in. It's never a dull moment.
That's good. Well, I appreciate the time. A lot of good pointers, really great story. And thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to diving into this podcast, and thanks for having
That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms, or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.